As far as philosophy goes, it's people. So it's people taking care of people. And in sales, I think the thing we really miss is the care factor.
Welcome to Fry Your Chickens, the podcast about facing fears, negativities, and self-doubts that can hold us back. Or as I like to call them, chickens. Get ready because it's time to tell those chickens that are holding you back to shut the cluck up. We will learn how real people did exactly that. I'm your host, Phil Barth. Let's get ready to fry. What happens when you put the human side of business ahead of the business? Well, great things happen, and that's what we're going to talk about today on the Fry Your Chickens podcast. My guest is Jamie Knight. He is the owner of Knight Realty in the Port Clinton Marblehead area. We have worked together. We had lunch one time. I said, dude, I've got to get you on my podcast. So, Jamie, welcome to the Fry Your Chickens podcast.
Thanks, Phil. I'm super excited to be here.
Tell me about your philosophy as a real estate agent, because this is why I wanted to have you on the podcast. You do things a little differently.
So thanks for having me on the podcast. Absolutely. When I think of real estate, I think of people, and my business 100% is people and taking care of people. So my philosophy is that 100%, making sure that I'm understanding the client's needs before mine. Most salespeople go into the interview with the thought process of, I need to explain myself and have them understand how great I am. And what I quickly learned from not only real estate, but my past, which was restaurants and owning and operating restaurants, was people need to be taken care of on an individual basis, and understanding their wants and needs is the most important factor in every single sale. So yes, I go in and give a little bit of my pitch as to who I am and the qualifications of my business. But more importantly, I look at each person and listen to what their wants and needs are. So when I say that, for example, going in and talking with your mom specifically, it was more about making sure that she was okay while we were getting the house ready and having her comfortable with who was representing one of the most important uh, transactions of her life, right? So that being said, it wasn't quite the transaction itself with her. It was more about making sure that I kind of stepped in there for the time as one of her sons, or that's how I felt I needed to help her. So get her comfortable, make sure that she knew we were there for her and in every facet. I wanted to make sure that there was somebody there that she could touch base with, whether it was a phone call to me or the rest of my team, and going through the process with her and kind of breaking it down. Like, okay, we are going to start with just packing your house, and you don't need to do it because frankly, you're 85 years old. It's going to tire you out, and we need to make sure that we take care of that piece first and foremost, and then getting all of the rest of the things lined up for her was it was absolutely imperative to her being calm and not getting overwhelmed in the process. As far as philosophy goes, it's people. So it's people taking care of people. And in sales, I think the thing we really miss is the care factor, right? So caring and getting everything ready, that's the most important part of a sale. On a purchase, so if we're going out and buying a house as opposed to listing a house, the buy side is having that upfront conversation about wants and needs, location, and and then price point, and then figuring out what's the most important pieces of the puzzle for you to fall in love with that house. And then somewhat of getting out of the way, right? Like I have to get out of the way and let the buyers discern on what they want. We live in a vacation area. A lot of times it isn't just the house, but it's, like, hey, how close in proximity are we to the Miller Ferry? Are we to restaurants, the CIC? If you're a Bay Point person, sometimes it's Lakeside Chautauqua, which is a gated community, a Christian gated community, or Bay Point, which is like an all-inclusive resort style living. So, and then there's all sorts of other ones sprinkled in there, Johnson's Island, da 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 da. Like we can go into a lot of the different areas, but it's what really makes the buyer tick. It always boils down to, people. So it's the relationship I create quickly, because that's what it is. And we have to create a relationship very quickly where they trust me to execute on a variety of different parts of the transaction, whether it's the transaction itself or all of the small details afterwards.
Excellent. And I know my mom loved the approach. Mom is a huge Jamie Wright fan. She loves you, and was very, very pleased with you and your staff and the care that you took of her. And I really know that you do this. You practice what you preach, because as you mentioned, you were and are the real estate agent for my mom, selling her house and moving to Mansfield to be close to my brother. And she is a huge Jamie Knight fan. She loves Jamie. Your staff helped with everything, and you're right. At her age, she can't be packing up the boxes and all of this. It was also, there were a lot of chickens for her that you helped her fry, because she's been in this house her entire life. So
Yeah.
85 years in that house it made a huge difference the way you handled her. So thank you for that. And you were talking on the buy side. I remember when we bought our first house, we had an agent, and she took us around to houses, and we said, "Oh boy, we like this part of this house and that part of that house." And we went back and forth. We said, "We're going to make an offer on this house." And she called and she said, "When I took the offer to the agent, he was in another house that just went on the market. And I know you've got to see it. I know it's what you want." And so we went over to the other house and was like, "Holy cow, this is exactly what we want." And so as soon as we got the counter on the other one, we're like, "No, thank you." And we went, and that was the house that we wound up living in, bringing our first 3 kids home in, and it was perfect. And she knew it because she built a relationship. So
Yep.
it is definitely a relationship business. The other thing I thought of when you said that, I'm going to see if ChatGPT can find us this quote, because it describes exactly what you're talking about. Are you there, Maple?
I'm right here, Phil. What's on your mind today?
Okay, I need you to research something. There was a quote by a lady who had met both Benjamin Disraeli and another British Prime Minister, and she said, "When I was with the one, they made me feel like they were the smartest person in the world. The other made me feel like I was the smartest person in the world." Can you find that quote, please? You can hear the theme music.
It's thinking.
It is. Good night. You kidding me? Search the web. Well, the quote may or may not be. This whole thing may or may not be.
Oh, it's there.
The quote you're referring to is about Benjamin Disraeli. The sentiment is that after meeting him, you felt like you were the smartest person in the world. It highlights the contrast between leaders who make others feel important rather than just showcasing their own brilliance.
Okay, we'll take that. I don't remember. I remember Disraeli was the one. She said she had dinner with, I think they were candidates for the Prime Minister of Great Britain. The quote will be in the show notes. And the one said, Oh boy, he just made me feel like he was the smartest person in the world. But when I had dinner with Benjamin Disraeli, he made me feel like I was the smartest person in the world. So it's that whole relationship and being interested in people. And that makes a huge difference. And it has in your business, I can tell.
It absolutely has. But it also is, I would tell you, um, it's essentially what I try to take home and live as well. So yes, it's how I want my business to be designed, but it's also how I want my life to be designed. I feel like a lot of what I see in my world is a lack of gratitude for what we have at home, and then our work life. So, I want that to translate across all platforms, so to speak. So what I mean by that is I try to live my life with an attitude of gratitude, right? Like there's no other way to live and have a good perspective and be grateful across all parts of my life, because nothing is really easy. And whether it's my marriage or my work life or managing the three kids and the sports, if I go into it with a woe is me attitude, then it's translated across the board, whether it's out loud or internal. I'm going to spew that on the people that are around me, and that's the one thing I do not want to do. I don't want people to think that I'm not grateful for every single opportunity I have, whether I'm the best real estate agent in my market or I'm a mediocre real estate agent or I'm at the bottom of the barrel. No matter what, I want every transaction for every person to feel the same way I'm willing to treat my family and my children and my coworkers and my clients. It needs to essentially spread across all platforms that I'm grateful for every single opportunity.
I love that. That was the impetus behind my book, Great Things Happen Every Day, where I just had a gratitude practice. And every single day I wrote something in it. And it helps.
It does.
And I will tell you, I don't know about you, but I occasionally have a bad day. And and
Or
yesterday
weak.
yesterday was one of those ones where I just wanted to throw stuff across the room, and I had the attitude, and it leaked out of me a little bit
Yeah.
too, right? And funny enough, this morning I have a Lent reading plan that I'm going through, and it popped up, and this morning's was, you know, I always want to start with an attitude of gratitude and list the things I'm grateful for. And I was like, holy cow, guess what? And so in my journal, I was just, you know what? I'm going to list all the things I'm grateful for today. And I filled a whole page.
I
And I'm
mean, I
telling
think
you, it made such a difference.
it's so I'm looking at my phone right now because I was going to show you this morning's, but I do this every single morning with one other individual inside the office to set my day with a list of gratitude, just so that, hey, remember, every day has its challenges, but let's start off in the right mindset. And then those challenges aren't challenges, they're just things that we have to objectively handle and move through. And it's a game changer when I'm doing it consistently, right? I think the one thing that I might not have said is everything about my business is consistency. And when I lack consistency, it's just as bad as gratitude. It leaks into everything and I get lazy. So if we start the day off with just a simple, hey, I'm grateful for the sunshine today. I'm grateful that I got to wake up today. I'm grateful for the opportunities that are sitting in front of me that I can go seize, or I don't have to do anything and I'm still going to have a good attitude about it. But yeah, like game changer. And I learned it, frankly. Gratitude lists were part of my early recovery in AA. So my sponsor, who has been my sponsor for 20 plus years, he leaned into me when I was in my 20s, when I first came into AA, about making sure that we're grateful for every day. And, like if we take on recovery as the opportunity to give back for all the things that we screwed up and so on and so forth, and make that gratitude list and kind of live by it as the start of our mornings, our days won't be so tough and so hard in the sense that, gosh, I just missed that drink or that drug, and that becomes insidious and leaks into everything in our daily life. And then you don't have you have fleeting recovery, and your bottom is not it's not a one and done thing. You kind of skip across the bottom in recovery, and you go in and out, and sometimes you live and sometimes you don't. And I really took that to heart. And I struggled through my 20s to stay sober. So it's not like oh, I walked into AA and I was recovered. It had nothing to do with that. I struggled all the way until, my early 30s is when I really started to get continuous sobriety. And by the grace of God, hopefully that will stay the course. And I do a lot of things to make sure it stays the course. But the biggest change in my life was making sure that my side of the street was clean, that I was doing the next right thing, and then always checking myself with a gratitude list to keep into perspective. Like, I buried a lot of my friends in recovery, and it was the list that they forgot that killed them, right? Like they go through the process and then they forget, and then "Oh, I'm just going to go out and have one more drink," and that last drink is what buries them, whether it's a car accident, an overdose, or prison. I mean, those are three realities for true alcoholic drug addicts. And thank God that I have a wonderful group of guys that I stick really close to, and we meet on a regular basis, and we talk on a regular basis, and we send each other different kinds of materials. But like making sure that you have those checks and balances in your life, whether it's recovery, like I said, workflow, home life balance, if there's such thing as home life and work balance. I think sometimes it's just a matter of the real balance is, hey, I'm heavy in here, forgive me over here.
Right.
So, like it's been a blast. It's been a wonderful learning process. And moving when I was 28, 29 out to Catawba, Marblehead was also it was a huge opportunity for me to fix the stuff in my past life that I didn't really like, and I wanted to remove. And by making a little bit of a geographical move and maintaining my recovery and having recovery around me and the people that mattered most, my life changed dramatically. I mean, I still wake up every single day on my hard days and think, I need to pinch myself because my life is pretty spectacular.
I love that. Absolutely love that. One of the practices that I need to get back to, honestly, I do that journaling and talk about what I'm grateful for. But one of the practices that can really help that I've seen, actually, I heard Tony Robbins talking about it, 3 minutes, and pick 3 things you're grateful for, 1 per minute, and just go back to that moment. So if I'm grateful for one of my sons, I go back to the moment where I became the dad and I'm holding my son, and your brain relives it, and you just flood yourself with gratitude. And it's just 3 minutes, right? I'm grateful for our vacation at the beach. Well, so I walk with my wife. Mentally, I walk with my wife for 1 minute on the beach, and it takes you back. Sometimes it's I'm grateful for coffee, and I have that sip of coffee, and it's better than usual, which I love coffee usually, but you just smell it, you savor it. I'm always grateful for dogs, and I don't have to go back because they always hop up in my lap first thing in the morning. Dogs are a big gratitude factory. Oh my gosh, you're going to feed me dog food? I love you.
You're the best.
Yeah. Oh, dog food. Thank you. You get up and it's like, I haven't seen you for hours. I love you so much. So, and I do have a talking puppy. It's on social media. Um, shout out to Darcy the puppy, who, spoiler alert, is no longer a puppy, but she is on social media. They grow up so fast. Anyway, love the gratitude practice. I want to ask you a question about your business though, because
Sure.
you recently went out on your own. I mean, within the past year, correct?
Correct.
So, were there some chickens you had to fry to get out on your own and do your own thing?
Absolutely. So internally and externally, there was a lot of them. Um, but it was also again, it boiled down to people. So all the people that I worked around and worked with, um, I think everybody was kind of ready for a change. And when I decided to leave, I left on my own. And I really considered how I was gonna approach this because there's a big difference between being on a team and then running your own team, right? So we've got staff now. I've got real bills. It's easy to just sell, right? It's just so easy to just go out and sell, 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 sell. Now it's about the agents inside the office that matter to me and their growth and figuring out ways to challenge them alongside challenging myself. And and then it's also the bottom line. Like the buck stops here to so to speak. If we aren't making money, I'm paying the bills. So there's that, right? So there's that overwhelming. And I think the last couple months, it's a slow time of the year in vacation land, and it can really be taxing. You start getting a lot of listings, you're really excited about the listings, but then the traffic count in Catawba, Marblehead, and Port Clinton goes floop, and it's gone. And where is it? Most of it's in Florida, right? So the majority of the people that live and breathe out here are snowbirds, so to speak. And they're gone when it's cold. And we've had a really cold winter this year. I mean, I think it was the first time in 10 years that Lake Erie actually froze. And I'm not just talking about one part of the basin. I'm talking about Lake Erie, all the way from, Toledo, Michigan to Buffalo. So it's frozen. So in Canada, blah blah blah, we know where it is. So the 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 growth inside of the office is now a couple agents working together now has changed to, we have almost 20 agents. We've got three that are getting their license. Right. So since this is essentially we're in our first total year. So now it's all about the numbers and building the business and helping these agents grow. And I did I didn't realize that I wanted it to be a team approach, but there has to be a hierarchy. And I don't like that personally. Like I want to work together as a group, and I want to lead from behind and make sure that everybody else's their wants and needs are taken care of. And in the first 2 months, I realized quickly that that's a mistake. And I didn't understand why it was a mistake, but it's directionless. So I suddenly had to put together a few structures with inside the team to define roles. And I was sad that I had to define roles because I I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that I wanted them to be a part of this ecosystem and creating the culture and having their say matter. And I put into place, the buck stops here at Jamie, and we went forth and conquered. And what I quickly realized was we do need direction. We have to have somewhat of a hierarchy in all business. And it's not that you're taking the power away from the agents. You're just trying to mold and have them understand that their voice matters, but we have to have a consistent, hey, this is the accountability factor, and no matter what, the buck stops at Jamie, so we have to bounce things off in a group atmosphere, but ultimately I have to drive the vision and they have to trust me that I'm driving it in a fashion that everybody's voice matters. And it works. I didn't think it would work and I was terrified about it, but it works. And the agents get it. Like I'm not here to tell anybody um, hey, your approach is terrible. I'm just going to tell you how I approached business and where the growth was. And if you're a new agent and you don't have any bad habits, because that's the biggest factor, you create these bad habits by directionless selling, right? So you create it, even though there's these models and platforms everywhere to learn how to be consistent and how to approach your business. Most people in real estate just want to do it their way. But then they look at their results and their results are fleeting at best. And maybe they do 10 sales. An average real estate agent in our MLS, I would say, sells anywhere from 10 to 20 homes, whether it's the buy side or the sell side, a year. And my approach is that's not going to work for me. If it works for you, great. And if you're happy there, great. How can I help your business maintain that or grow that? So, we put into place office meetings every other Tuesday. In those meetings, we're going to work on a big idea, marketing, advertising. We're going to look at our numbers as far as inside of our ecosystem, what we're doing to collect new clients, and so on and so forth. All of these things I had done for myself with never with the thought of helping other people do it and grow their own business. So like merging that it was a lot. And then you have to look at our approach is very much marketing and advertising and media driven, and everybody wants that, right? Like everybody wants to see their face on their listings. Everybody wants to talk to their ecosystem on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and TikTok. But when push comes to shove, do you understand how to do that? Do you understand that we're moving into an AI world? And if you don't maintain and look at what ChatGPT or any of the other platforms are doing and how they're starting to do research with the web inside of those ecosystems, you'll get left behind. It's really quick. Like Google SEO, all of those things matter, but they're not as big of a deal as creating a GEO plan and making sure that you're on every single platform, and how you do it matters. So, we hired in a full-time marketing and advertising staff, and we have editors, and our goal was to change the idea of the agent being able to do that on their own. You can't. I couldn't unless I hired other staff members. And then, that's a team. But what I wanted to make sure is all my friends that we've been doing this for several years together, they had the opportunity of the platform that we could build together, as opposed to see you guys later, I'm just doing it on my own. So now what we're doing is we quite literally build all of our marketing and advertising together. We have basically the opportunity for all agents to come in here and get in front of a camera with editing capabilities and already pre-built scripts, and they can go in and they can basically record with our editor and videographers, and they can apply those things that without the power of a team would cost you thousands
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part of that is real estate agents aren't consistent. So if I can help build the consistency, then they're 2 steps ahead of every office around us. And what we saw in the course of the last 6, 7 months is, I went from having maybe eyes of 500 to 1,000 people on Facebook and Instagram to our platform on the night team Facebook page sees 30,000 views on a business page. Okay. And then on an individual basis, I've got a young kid in the office. He sees 100,000 views on his Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. I'm a little older. I might not be what interests a lot of people on social platforms, but I'm seeing 70,000 views. When we post a new listing, we're seeing the community look at all of our information. And then if you look across the board, whether you're buying followers or not, the organic algorithm matters, in my opinion, because that means that we're being told by Facebook, by TikTok, and Instagram, hey, we like this. We like this information that's coming across, and we're pushing it out. And guess what? Your content is so good, so to speak, we're going to boost it into the ecosystem of Instagram or Facebook or TikTok. So like I said, I went from 500 to 1,000 views to, now we're seeing a consistent 25 to 30,000 views every 28 days. Just want to clarify the timelines, but that's basically we're looking at 1,500 views every 28 days to 30 to 40,000 views, and some of our stuff has hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah.
So that is another part of the business that we're working on consistently and making sure that every agent understands it, because I think
Right.
that's where our business is going.
Yeah. Consistency is the key on any of this. That's why
Mhm.
every day I have a little puppy that tells dog jokes on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. And she gets 1 to 2 thousand views almost every day.
Yep.
So good for her.
I think the hard part for everybody is in our culture is so driven on right now that you you think you're failing if it doesn't grow in that post, and you have to be patient enough to
Yes.
look at the long game and how we're growing, because it doesn't just matter that we're getting eyeballs. What's happening is all of our agents are getting business from that. So that's the real barometer, so to speak, of how's your business doing. Our business is doing amazing. It's the dead of winter, and everybody's got clients that they're running and working for. So, that those things are a big deal when you're thinking about how to grow your business. As a new agent without bad habits, that's what we want. We want you guys to understand Facebook and Instagram and all the social platforms matter, but it doesn't matter if you don't know how to go out and talk to people and make sure you know the contracts. And there's a lot of things that go on, and you don't necessarily want to blow up in your first year because you have no idea what you're doing. But with a team, we can help you and make sure that all of the stuff that really matters in negotiating a contract, we can help guide you, right? We'll always be there as a guide, but it's okay to build a business over 3 to 5 years, which is typical.
Yeah.
It's just most agents think that they have to make 6 figures in their first year, and if they don't, they're failures. Well, that's crazy talk to me. I sold one house my first year, one house, and I don't even know how I did it, because it was like dumb luck, really. And then I went into another office, a local office, and that broker, Jeff, um, he was awesome. I love him. I love him to this day. I don't work with him anymore, but he was the person that made me understand the biggest factor in this business. One is the education so that you know how to negotiate for your client. And then two was patience because I was broke and I had none and I wanted money and I wanted to provide and I wanted it was all now. And he sat back and listened and guided me and calmed me down and he would make me sit down and write out contracts, hand write out contracts, handwritten contracts, so that I understood everything that I was working on. It was a game changer for me. And now as a my own having my own team, that's the biggest fun factor for me is like I get to sit down with these agents and say, well, look at where you were, look at where you are, and this is where I think you're going to end up. We look at the data on a very regular basis and say, okay, fine, you don't think you're doing good, but you were in the top 50 agents. This is a newer agent specifically that I'm talking about, who thought that she was not successful. And I said, you came to us, you had a number, and in a year you doubled your income and sales. Like, stop. You're doing awesome. Have enough gratitude in your life to stop and look and see where you were to where you are now. And
You want to avoid the comparison trap.
mm-hmm.
In your business, in my business, you avoid the comparison trap. The other thing you mentioned was the consistent effort. And I am now pivoting and speaking a lot on AI because I've done a lot with AI. And the only problem I have is, shiny syndrome, right? So there is that consistency. And so I block my calendar. This is where you will go looking for the business. You will do these things. And then you'll have this much time, whatever that is, maybe 30 minutes or an hour, to do the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's a trap, right? Oh, shiny. And you can, and it's enjoyable, but you got to do the blocking and tackling and those consistent practices. And when I do that, things work out.
Pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But speaking of the fun stuff,
Uh-oh.
here we go. All right. So now you're seeing the house band for the Fry Your Chickens podcast.
Okay.
This is Lord Cluckington and the Headbangers. They will introduce the next section. Go.
It's time for the big question because everybody cares. Fight one bear-sized chicken or 100 chicken-sized bears.
All right. So there you have it. The Lord Cluckington and the Headbangers. I just realized that Lord Cluckington has a 7-string guitar. We got a guy that looks like he's got a bass guitar, and we've got 3 drummers. So
It's a band.
it is a band, and Lord Cluckington is actually. I gave the AI model a picture of the one and only Red Rooster of Regret. That's the idea here is you don't want to face regrets because that. So it's the big question, the question that we give all of our guests. Which would you rather fight? 1 bear-sized chicken or 100 chicken-sized bears, and why?
Okay, so I was thinking about this, and originally I thought 1 bear-sized chickens. However, I think I would go into 100 bear
Chicken-sized bears.
chickens, right? Did I say that right?
Yeah, like little bears. You either got
Little
one
bears,
huge
little
chicken
bears.
or
Yeah.
a little bear, little bears.
And your beautiful background is what gave me the idea because I could take a hockey stick and get a little crazy and smack those things out of here.
I'm glad my background inspired you.
I appreciate it
Yeah,
a lot.
And there are so many variables in this question. For
Sure.
example, are they chicken-sized polar bears, which would be really tough,
Yeah, that'd be
or
fun.
are they chicken-sized koala bears? You know, it's up to the individual interpretation.
Sure.
I've had people ask, "Can I have a weapon?" Because if you have a weapon, then one bear-sized chicken is not bad. And you take it out, and you have the world's best barbecue. We've covered
Yeah.
our podcast, but yeah, I always like to include one silly question at least in the podcast, and it's always that one. So
That's a good one. I mean, I just think of a bunch of little tiny bears with that hockey stick. Yeah, right there.
boom, there they
That's
go.
right. Give me a net.
If they're rubber chickens, that's another story.
Oh, right. And
Altogether.
you didn't say I couldn't have a weapon or not, so I naturally said I'm gonna.
Well, absolutely. A
Hey.
hockey stick makes a wonderful weapon. Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I put the question out there. You get to do whatever you want with it. So,
I appreciate it.
yeah.
And it makes me laugh and think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the most important question, obviously.
Clearly.
Come on.
Clearly.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast. Where can we find you online?
So we have a web page. Hang on one second. I always forget these things. But you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on TikTok. Jamie Knight, real estate agent in Catawba, Marblehead, Port Clinton, living in vacation land.
All right.
Yes.
Awesome. The channel will be there if you.
And I'll send you all the links, but
Perfect.
our web page is pretty involved and built out. We've got everything. So from Facebook to LinkedIn to YouTube, there isn't a platform that we're not a part of.
And your videos are impressive. Really,
thanks.
really good.
I have a lot of fun. That I can't take any credit for that though. I wish it was me doing all the editing.
But you hired the right people, obviously.
Yeah, they're the group of people that I have the pleasure of working with today are incredible in every single one of their unique niches in our office. It's a blast, whether it's marketing and advertising or Mallory is basically the catch-all of picking up all of everyone's pieces and making sure that our contracts are perfect, whether you're brand new or whether you're a seasoned vet. So we have a great group of people that we work together with.
Awesome. Well, and I met a couple of them, and it's a fantastic office. I've enjoyed working with you, and I've really enjoyed having you on my podcast. Thank you again for being on it, and keep frying. Hey, it's Phil. Like today's show? Well, you'll clucking love my Fry Your Chickens newsletter on LinkedIn and Substack. Links are in the notes.